in Russia.
We'll tell you all about it tonight on 7 News.
Hi, Sulphur. I'm Angela Fleur from Sulphur High School, on tour in Moscow. We're at the Kremlin witnessing firsthand the changes in Russia because of perestroika and glasnost. We're on the Friendship Caravan, and we'll tell you all about it tonight on 7 News.
Leslie Sulphur.
I go to school at Louisiana School for Math, Science, and Arts.
You saw Lenin's tomb, and you went to Red Square and the Kremlin today.
It's what I expected, but different. There are more guards. It's not quite as restricted in some ways, but in other ways, like walking in twos, it was so restricted you had to stay side by side with your partner. I never expected someone to tell me to move up because I was too far behind in the line. It was beautiful. The buildings were quite different from American architecture with the onion domes and the gold. They were fabulous. I liked looking at different types of architecture as it is, and they fascinated me, the way how someone so long ago could build something so ornate and detailed.
Why did you want to come on this trip?
Because I wanted to see how the Russian people, or Soviet people, Russian in this republic, lived, and how it was different from what I thought they were.
And what did you have in your mind? How did you think they probably lived?
I thought it would be worse than it is, but they actually live in decent homes, flats, and two families live in the flats together. So it's not actually that crowded, but it takes them a while to get into the flats.
Did you realize
the disadvantages would be probably the material goods that American families are used to or take advantage of that many Soviet families do not have. From what I've seen in the hotel, their plumbing and lighting and just electrical systems are totally different from American. They're back, I'd say, at least 10 years to 20. They'll explain it to you, but it helps if you ask detailed questions, and they will answer them because they're very eager to share information with you now. The girl that took us on our tour today was about 17 years old, and she told us everything that she possibly knew or could tell us or understood enough to. So we found out a lot that we didn't know about religion, and about the way that people live, and about the government, and the way the men actually join the party from the age 15 to 28. It's customary. They don't have to. They have the choice not to. But we found out different facts that was, it's trivia, but things you like to know. The main difference that I've seen in the capitalistic and communistic economy is the presence of no advertising whatsoever. I'm not used to walking around and seeing a billboard that has comfort on it, or just no Coke ads or Pepsi ads or anything, and it's a lot different knowing that the government owns everything and the money is not going all to the people, even though in the capitalistic society or economy, as you want to call it, the government still gets a portion of the money earned by the business. I realize my freedom now that I have been here, and I've only been here a day. I realize how much I take for granted in American society, and I have come to appreciate it more, a lot more.
I guess that would be Kelsey Chine?
Yes.
St. Louis High School?
Yes, in Lake Charles, Louisiana. The most fascinating thing I saw today was St. Peter's Basilica. I was absolutely amazed. I've seen pictures of it, but the architecture was absolutely incredible. It was more beautiful than I had ever imagined. It is, at the same time, more beautiful and less beautiful than I thought it would be. The center of the city, like around the Kremlin, is absolutely beautiful. The architecture is very ornate. You know, it's very Gothic. But the outside of the city, where most of the housing is a little less run down. Is less kept up than I thought it would be. You know, and the way the communist system is, where everyone works for the good of the people, I think is something very powerful. If he can kind of generate a team spirit here, I think that would be wonderful. And Glassnose is also a thing I've had little experience with that because, for example, today our guide she's only 17, and she was very open in telling us about the way religion is here and things like that, and telling us about, what she likes to do for fun in Moscow and things like that. She was very open, which is Glassnose. Freedom is the thing I value most, especially since coming here. It has to do with freedom of choice, freedom of expression, every kind of freedom. That's what is most important.
Kelsey?
The thing I'm most surprised about is that they don't miss the lack of freedom. They don't seem to be so upset by it.
I guess that's maybe because they don't know what they're missing?
Yeah, I think it is. I think they don't know. I don't think they know what it's like to have the freedom of choice. The quality of goods that we have. Being able to choose anything you like, a car, a house, anything. I don't think they've ever had a chance, to choose a political party, what they feel. I mean, it all boils down to the lack of individualism, I think.
We're talking to Allison Fitkin. Where do you go to school, Allison, in Louisiana?
Sulphur High School. I wanted to come to the Soviet Union so I could learn to meet the people and get to and understand how the kids did things like us in the United States. I wanted to understand how their way of life was, and I wanted to get to know them and make friends. I thought it was going to be a lot nicer than this. Yeah, it's a little more run down than I expected, but it's still nice, and the people are nice and everything, and it's pretty much what I expected. And I expected first to be a little less busy, but Moscow's just pretty much what I expected.
Have you ever been?
I felt like the government would be watching the people a lot more. There would be more police, more protection, things like that. I thought it would be a little more strict and everything. It seems like the people pretty much have a lot more rights than I thought they would. Yes, kind of, because I kind of feel like they took the time to learn our language, and it helps in communication, and that we should, learn theirs.
What did you, Philip Martin? He comes from
St. Louis High School in Lake Charles. I enjoyed seeing the cathedral. I mean, we don't have anything like that back in Sulphur. I enjoyed seeing Lenin's tomb. That was interesting, the way they have preserved his body and all and kept it like that, and have the changing of the guards. I didn't know really what it was going to be like, how the normal people were going to be like. I have read some articles on Gorbachev, and I've done some reading up on various things that have been happening lately.
Is it like what you thought it would be? Does it look like you thought, or do people act like you thought?
More or less, yeah. Some parts are different. It's clean. It's a lot cleaner than I thought it would be. I mean, not trash on the roadside. Not as much as is in the United States. Seems like to me.
And could you speculate as to why that may be?
I'm not sure what their laws are on the thing, but I might suspect that the laws on littering would be a little more strict than ours, I would guess. And maybe because the people don't have as much as we do, so they don't throw things out and throw things away as much as we do. In communism, the government decides what your salary is for whatever your job is. From what I've heard, there's not as much, at least in Soviet communism, there's not as much room for advancement. It's more difficult to advance in society than it is to advance in capitalism, in a capitalistic society. I think capitalism is better because if you are poor, you still have a chance to move up relatively quickly if you really want to. If you really want to try. Communism, it's not necessarily try as hard to get as much as the next person, but so in that respect, I guess it's easier for the poor people. But if the poor people want to become rich people, then it seems like it'd be a lot more difficult than it would be in a capitalistic society. I hope they'll remember that as a whole, we're willing to become peaceful neighbors with them. I hope they see that I personally don't have any prejudices against Russian people. I try not to anyway, and I hope they'll see that we don't have that many prejudices, so they won't have prejudices against us. And I hope that from this, that I know a lot of people are expecting this to form peaceful relations between the United States and the Soviet Union. I hope that this does work and help promote peace between the Soviet Union and the United States.
And you want to play a part in it?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
Okay, we're talking to Mike Glaskin.
St. Louis High School. They don't have a lot of the modern conveniences that we have. We have shower curtains for one thing. They don't have shower curtains, so you have to take a bath. And very small hotel rooms. And
what you know and what you think about perestroika?
I think it's a step towards reform for them. But as far as I could see, it's still, I don't think it's anything like the United States as far as, social freedom.
Angel, Sulphur High.
Good.
And it's different. There's a lot more friendly. There's a lot friendlier people than I thought there would be. And I've met a lot of people. And there's a lot to see. And everything's big.
Now,
in Sulphur, we don't usually see the huge buildings and the different architectural structures and that sort of thing, and the huge portraits in the cathedrals and that.
well, what do you think?
Part of it's kind of dull, but when you get into the Red Square and to the cathedrals, there's a lot more vivid colors. So,
What do you think you'll remember the most?
I think Lenin's tomb.
And why is that?
There were so many guards everywhere, and they respected him so much. They wanted him to be safe.
What do you treasure about your American citizenship?
Then I know I can always go home and be free, and I don't have to worry about passports and watching out what I have to say and what I have to do. Just, I could always be myself.
The Matt Red. Matt, 2 T's, Red, 2 D's. And he comes from Sulphur, Louisiana, where he attends which high school?
Sulphur High School.
All right, Sulphur.
In Washington, you see Mercedes and Porsches and any kind of sports car. And here, it's not Yugos, it's just like Yugos, and everybody has the same car. Right? They're small and no family cars at all.
You went to the Youth Cafe the other night. Did you have a chance to talk to Soviets?
Oh, yes, sir.
So tell me, what did they say? What did they ask you? What did you tell them?
We taught them how to play cards. We were playing a battle with them, and we couldn't communicate that well because none of us could speak each other's language, but it was kind of fun because we were just making up things, we were just playing games and stuff.
Well, I mean,
it felt great because we was all taking pictures of each other, putting our arms around each other, and just having a good time.
How do they look?
They look, their cheek, they look a little different because their cheekbones higher up or something, but they look, some of them, if you put them on American Street, you couldn't tell them from anyone else.
they're all for one purpose over here. They can't go their separate ways over here because they're all working under one. They make sure they all.
Well, how do you as an American...
I can tell that people are like looking at me. They can tell that I'm an American because I'm sure the way I dress is different. And I know it's different from them, and they can tell that I'm an American. And you can tell it when they're looking at you and stuff. Just the way that they don't smile as much as Americans do. You walk down the street, you smile, and they kind of just turn their head, but they're just not as happy as Americans. They're not as happy as the rest of the world.
You think here...
I think they need to loosen up a little bit because they're not enjoying life like Americans are.
И представляет этот дом. Transport is the only one in the USSR that has its own school and the house the room where we are now was built as a Roman room and was decorated with types of carvings and the room was decorated by Russian art. Мы сейчас посмотрим все залы. Пройдем все залы. Мы сначала зайдем в зал языка, рядом потом посмотрим графический зал. Посмотрим, может быть, сейчас там посмотреть. Откройте, пожалуйста, пятый комнату зала. Now we're going to see the whole palace and like Rococo style, there will be the nations. В этом зале только что у нас прошла выставка. See there was an exhibition, and this is the palace for the railsmen. There was the exhibition of those people who voted. Smoking room. The windows are decorated with a Russian stone, which is very famous. Maybe you know it. It's called jasper. Jasper is found usually in the Ural Mountains.
Здесь уже проведена реставрация, комната, вот там черное пятно, говорит о том, какая она была до реставрации.
So it has already been restored, but above you can see a dark spot. Have you found over there? And it was... looking at it, you can just imagine how it was before the restoration work.
And what is the style of architecture?
Как он? Стиль вот здесь как он.
Это мамитанский.
Above the windows you can see a turban.
Да, это тоже выполнено нашими мастерами, но краски французские здесь применены. Они не стираются.
It was made by the Russian masters, but the colors are French. Well, you can see that one of the most beautiful buildings was given.
И сейчас вообще такое направление, что все старинные особняки отдаются детскому фонду и детям.
And many funds, which is called the children's fund, has been established here for a couple of years ago.
Сейчас идет реконструкция внутреннего пространства.
At that time, you were welcome here in 2 years, but the rooms will
Nest of the swallows.
Does someone live here now? No, is it a building? Is someone living here?
Это кабинет. Нет.
Нет, в этом...
Вот такой наш дом. Каждый день приходит сюда слышать вещи ребятишек, заниматься пением, танцами.
So this is the whole palace, and about 1,000 of children come here practically every day.
Завтра они уезжают в Прибалтику, а сегодня они дают вот такой небольшой концерт.
You've seen some kids when we went upstairs. Tomorrow they are leaving for the Baltic Republic. Maybe you know. But today they will, before the...
И хореография классика.
Thank you.